به نام و یاری پروردگاری که یکی او را مزا اهورا به معنی بزرگدانای هستی بخش می نامد. به نام آن که یکی او را یهوه می نامد. به نام آن که یکی او را گاد می نامد و به نام آن که یکی او را خدا و یکی او را الله می نامد.
My name is Scott Frank. I'm from the United States. I live in California, but I was born and raised in New Jersey. I grew up in a Jewish family, Reformed Jewish. About a year ago, I received an invitation to come to Iran from a colleague of mine working here who wanted to make a documentary about religious freedom in Iran. And being a Jew, you know, and speaking with people about the possibility of coming to Iran, I was told by many of them that I shouldn't come. I was told by one person, don't go to Iran, it will ruin your life, which was told to me by somebody who was from Israel. I came to Iran to work with some artists in Isfahan on the creation of a documentary related to religious freedom in Iran. I came with the impression that, in fact, there was no religious freedom in Iran. And what I discovered was actually very different from the impressions that I had prior to my being here. I discovered that there was a vibrant Jewish community in Isfahan. Also here in Tehran, where I've been living for the last 4 or 5 months, there's a vibrant Jewish community. I learned that the people in general and also the government have a great deal of respect for the religion. There's a member of parliament for each of the monotheistic religions, for Judaism, Christianity, and also for Zoroastrianism. And I visited several different places while in Isfahan, a Zoroastrian temple as well as an Armenian Christian temple. And, you know, I found that there were established and vibrant communities in each of these areas. So my impressions, my first impressions, and the impressions that I came with, which were of course very, very different. Since Israel and Iran have had difficulties politically in the past, the impression was that there was some kind of a particular judgment against the Jewish people. The idea of anti-Semitism or any kind of prejudice or racism against the Jews, I haven't found it present. I found people to be incredibly inviting towards me. I've never had a rude word said to me about my religion. In fact, the hospitality in Iran is famously robust. And my documentary was about how the community in Isfahan was reacting with or not reacting with the different elements of religion that were present there. And I found that people were not only happy to be practicing their own individual religion, but happy to be living in Iran doing so.
خدا دلامت جانم را بگیره ندادم جان که پا بنده تو بوده عزیزم خویار دل سود مردم منم رود نمیشه چه میشه دلم نازک شده مانم شیشه.
In preparing for the documentary that we've constructed related to different religions in Isfahan, what I couldn't help but notice was, as a place, Isfahan is made up of poets, artists, painters, just a plethora of artistic craftsmen. Also, there's this tremendous feeling of cultural depth. So when you encounter the 33 Bridge, a bridge built so many years ago, 700 or 800 years ago, and some of the other structures in Isfahan, you can't help but be thrown back into another era. It's like being put into a time machine.
اصفهان کاملا یک موزه زنده و تمام عیاری است که هر نقطه از اون رو بخوای واقعا وارد بحث بشی شاید نتوان حق مطلب رو ادا کرد. در دوران قبل از اسلام اصفهان جایگاه خود رو داره، در دوران هخامنشی ها، در دوران ساسانی ها و در دوره بعد از اسلام هم اهمیت اصفهان همین قدر که برای 3 دوره پایتخت بزرگ ایران زمین بوده، در دوره آل بویه، در دوره صفویه و در دوره سلجوقیه، که این دوران آثاری رو به عبارتی به همراه خودش در اصفهان باقی گذاشته که این آثار جمعاً به 6000 اثر میرسه. بعضی از این آثار ثبت جهانی هست، بعضی از این آثار ثبت ملی هست و این اصفهان رو تبدیل کرده جزء 4 شهر بزرگ میراثی و تمدنی دنیا باشه، در رده پکن، در رده فلورانس، در رده پاریس، و به هر صورت اصفهان جایگاه خودش رو جزو 7 کشور توریستی جهان در حقیقت ثبت کرده. همونطوری که صحبت شد، آثاری که از این دوران باقی مونده است باعث شده است که اصفهان دارای سبک‌های خاص مربوط به خودش باشه، به عنوان مثال سبک فلسفه، سبک ادبیات، سبک معماری، سبک هنری و حتی سبک موسیقی.
I had the opportunity to visit Isfahan during the anniversary of the revolution. There were about 2 million people gathered to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the revolution. It was really quite remarkable being within the throngs of that many celebrants with their slogans, their horses. It was just about the most chaotic experience of my life. But I came away with a feeling of depth and certainty that this is, a real country. This isn't a country that's built off a corporation like Kuwait, for example. This isn't a country that's built off of necessarily built off of a commercial resource like the resource of oil. This is a country that has a very deep and galvanized history. That is not a thing you find in many countries of the world. Because of colonization and imperialism over the years, a lot of that kind of concentrated culture has dissipated. But it is to be found here, and especially in the city of Isfahan. And all in all, the experience was one of great cultural embellishment, empowerment. What the United States has become over the last 200 and 350 years is a melting pot of different cultures. But preceding that was this country, Iran, where for 3,000 years, different groups, different ethnicities have come to this area, this land, and made it their home. So what you have basically in Iran is you have different areas where people have settled over the years, Jews amongst them, Kurds amongst them, Turks amongst them, and these groups live in different areas, and so the areas are somewhat different from each other, and people identify more with their culture and the culture of the country. And 3,000 years ago, the Jews were invited here by Cyrus, or Korush, as he's known here in Iran. And they were invited to form an area or a settlement where their culture could flourish. I'm sure many people are familiar with the stories of the Megillah, in which the Jews, threatened with death by then Korush's prime minister, escaped death through the king's marriage to Esther and ultimately saving of the king's life via Esther's cousin Mordecai.
که همونطور که میدونید کوروش ما را از اسارت بابلی ها نجات داد و یهودیان اومدن در سرزمین ایران اصفهان را انتخاب کردن به عنوان سکونت، یه داد زیادیشون. و همونطور که میدونید اصفهان اصولا اسم قدیمش یهودیه بوده یا دارالیهود که به دست یهودی‌ها ساخته میشه این شهر.
This is a place steeped in cultural tradition. And for Christians, for Jews, for anyone who's informed about the Bible, you'll find here the graves of many, many prophets, biblical figures buried in various parts of the country.
The mainstream religions, the Abrahamic religions and Zoroastrianism have been in Iran ever since history, ever since there was Zoroastrianism, ever since there was Judaism, ever since there were Old Testament prophets. A lot of them roamed in Iran. No Jewish people goes to Daniel's tomb except if they come to Iran as a visitor. But it's filled with Muslims who go there and pray. Daniel's tomb is a very important shrine in Susa, the old name is Susa. And you have Ezekiel's tomb in Desfur, father of Daniel. And we have Joshua, the prophet, in Isfahan. And we have Esther and Mordecai in Hamadan.
و باز در همدان 3 تا پیغمبر داریم که حننیا، میشائیل و عزریا. و نهایتاً در تخت فولاد یکی داریم به نام یوشع که کتاب تورات توضیح میده در سرزمین مادها دفن شد.
یک روز از اصفهان که بریم بیرون غم غربت میگیره. ما واقعاً به عنوان یه یهودی ایرانی متعصب هستیم و شهرمون رو دوست داریم.
کلیمیان ایران، به خصوص کلیمیان اصفهان، واقعا ایران رو وطن اصلی خودمون میدونیم.
از بعد از انقلاب تو راحتی تا حتی بهتر از قبل از انقلاب هم اینجا داریم ما زندگی میکنیم. هر کار اداری داشته باشیم، با معرفی کردن اقلیت بودن خودمون که کلیمی هستیم، کارمون رو زودتر برای ما انجام میدیم.
من نسبت به سنم تجربه‌ای که داشتم هیچ وقت تو گروه دوستا جدا نیفتادم یا تک نیفتادم از بقیه و مطمئنم که در آینده هم هیچ وقت چنین اتفاقی نمیفته.
هر جا میریم میگیم کلیمی واقعا یه احترام خاصی واسه ما قائلن. واقعا واسمون احترام خاصی قائلن. من خوشحالم به عنوان یه ایرانی کلیمی.
کلیه ادیان الهی در ایران آزاد هستن و مراسم شهریشون خودشون انجام میدن به دلهای خودشون
و حقوق و حقمون برابر. نماینده داریم در مجلس، حقوق مدنیمون مساویه، ولی ما در احکام شرعی خودمون مطابق دین و روش حضرت موسی رفتار میکنیم، ولی در قانون مدنی ایران مساوی و برابر است.
خوشبختانه الان ما هیچ مشکلی نداریم. ما همه مراسم مذهبیمون، اعیادمون رو در کمال آزادی انجام میدیم.
درسته که اول ایرانیم، به ایرانی بودنمون واقعا افتخار میکنیم، ولی دینمون همیشه جای خودش رو داره. ما از بچگی با پدر و مادرمون مراسم مذهبیمون رو حتما انجام میدیم.
ادونای الهینو شیطو رفتن خانقه تدام حسن بیز مشه بدم داش قیام.
How does one explain the conversation of a roll-up to war when what we find here is a civilized country, hands out extended, arms outreached,